views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
Hi, welcome. This is Dr. John DeMartini. This is one of the most amazing and inspiring shows that you can listen into. If you want to be on the edge of your seats, if you want to open up your heart, if you want to expand your mind, and you want to meet incredible people, stay tuned because you're just about to experience a transformative radio show that will change your life. And you're listening to the Dr. Pat Show that's coming up right next.
Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. Talk radio to thrive by. Powerful, inspiring, and coming to you live, bringing you stories of people like you and me, busting through and living life full out. Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail. Hey, everybody. Welcome. It is so great to be connecting with all of you. We've got a great show for all of you out there today. Dr. Susan Smith-Jones joining us here. We're taking on a topic that people just do not want to talk about. Why? Because they think it's normal. But being sleepless in America, no, that is not normal. But before we do that, Benny, are we celebrating the ladies today?
Heck yeah, it's a consistency. We should give the shout out to all the wonderful players for America and the women's soccer team for bringing us home that world championship. It's so cool. World Cup.
Is so cool.
So cool.
Yeah, it is. It is so cool. And you know, how great that they are going to celebrate them with a ticker tape parade. It is really good. It is really phenomenal. It's really kind of interesting to think about, and Dr. Susan can chat about this in a minute too, because we were talking about this, right, Dr. Susan? These women did something unprecedented. They did something that many, many people thought they would never be able to do. And yet at the same time, we were just kind of talking about, what will these women actually get in terms of financial support? How much will they get paid? Well, I have to tell you that, the amount of money that they will actually get for their accomplishment is so small. It is just an embarrassment to actually even talk about it. And if you're wondering what Patricia Arquette was talking about when she talked about equality, then this is going to be what this is really going to turn into. Because if you are a network that is carrying this show and carrying this game and the televised coverage of it and what people were watching and how many were watching, I think we should be giving them a split of the advertising on here. But that's just me, Benny. That's
100% agree with you. 100% agree.
Yeah. So hats off to these absolutely incredible women out there, did their thing. And, interesting, President Obama said jokingly, you guys kind of took the suspense out of it. Well, it maybe not, but they did it with dignity and they did it with life-lasting momentum. Dr. Susan's joining us here today, and this is an important show. We do not even know, we do not even understand this, but we don't really get that we are just not sleeping. Now, and why do I say that? Because, of course we hear phrases like orange is the new black, but you know what? 3 hours sleep is not the new normal. It is just not the new normal. And the question mark is, why is it that we are looking at our sleep deprivation as normal? And by the way, how is it affecting us? Well, thanks to Dr. Susan joining us here today. Love having her on the show regular. She is an author, but more importantly, she is a spokesperson for how we can live an amazing life at any age, experience health bliss, stay balanced, and know and understand the power of natural food. I mean, these are just a few of the books she's written. She travels the world and, talks regularly on radio show about how we can each do this in a practical way. Today, we've got a great giveaway. She's going to tell you about some things she's done to actually give to all of us to help us get past our sleep debt. Dr. Susan, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
Thanks. Great to be back with you again. And hi, Benny.
Yeah,
Benny.
Benny.
We welcome you back. Yeah, always.
Yeah, Benny. You know, Dr. Susan, let's start at the beginning. You know, there's a story that one of my mentors told me a long time ago, and I got to go into the whole thing, but told me the story about the frog and what happens when you put a frog into boiling water. It jumps out. But if you don't and you slowly turn up the heat, there's this thing that happens where we adjust and adapt. Isn't that kind of what's been going on with sleep in America? We've been adapting to being sleepless.
Yeah, that's such a great way to put it, too. You know, people are sleeping less in this country than they did a century ago, and most of that is thanks to electric lighting, the shift to an urban, industrialized economy, not to mention all the late-night television. And it wreaks havoc on every area of the body. We'll go through all of this, but, you know, to tell you how serious this is, 95, these are all scientifically studied research and surveys, but 95% of Americans suffer from some sleep disorder at some time in their lives. 60% suffer from persistent sleep disorders, and 43 million prescriptions for sleeping pills were written by doctors last year. So it is an epidemic in our country, and if you think you can handle getting 3 to 4 to 5, even 6 hours of sleep at night and function optimally, think again. And we'll go through all of the issues today on what happens when you don't get enough sleep.
Well, let's start with that because, you know, I think you and I know because I think we're part of it. You know, I find myself being part of it. I find myself, you know, thinking about, okay, I started to want to get up earlier, so that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be up and out by 10 to 6 so that I can do some things that I've not done. But you can't get up at 6 and think you're still going to go to bed at midnight.
Right. No, that's exactly right. Yeah. So what happens when you don't get enough sleep? First of all, there's nothing more restorative for your body than good sleep and plenty of it night after night after night. Lack of sleep undermines your body's ability to deal with stress. And when you are consistently lacking sleep, here are just a few of the things that happen in your body. It causes a toxic buildup. It makes you gain weight. It accelerates aging. It causes depression, irritability, impatience, low sex drive, memory loss, relationship problems, lethargy, accidents, and at least 1,500 reported drowsy driving fatalities each year. You know, studies reveal that driving on only 6 hours of sleep is like driving drunk in terms of mental functions. Obviously, the moment you feel drowsy in the car, you've got to get off the road.
Well, and, you know, let's talk about what drowsy is, you know, because I think this is really an epidemic beyond proportion that you and I probably can cover in an hour. But let's think about it. Drowsy, right? People are drowsy and they don't even know they're drowsy. See, isn't part of the deal here, Dr. Susan, that we are now pushing ourselves to new levels of let's just call it new levels of effort in any given day to finish our to-do lists, to do the things we think that we should be doing in life, to get from here to there, social media, Facebooking, Netflixing, whatever that is. We are trying to cram it in the shortest amount of time, and something sacrifices from all of that, doesn't it?
So much is sacrificed. You can't expect to ever be vibrantly healthy if you don't make getting good sleep at night, and we'll talk in a moment about how many hours you need, non-negotiable. You know, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration estimates that sleep deprivation plays a role in over 100,000 traffic accidents each year. And get this, there was a survey done a few months ago that said that 1 in every 6 crashes involve a drowsy driver, and that, listen to this one, 40% of those surveyed said that they admitted to dozing off while driving.
Wow. Say that number again for folks, if you don't mind.
One in 6 crashes involve a drowsy driver. Look what can be prevented then. 40% of those surveyed, and there were thousands of people in the survey, said that they admitted to dozing off while driving.
Oh. You know, let's talk about what the consequences of this are. You know, beyond the consequences to oneself, beyond being in a state of drowsiness, you know, the door gets opened for life-changing happenings because we're just not getting enough sleep. I mean, the kinds of things that happen from taking action without enough sleep range, right, Dr. Susan? Range from, driving, not awake, but also the brain functioning. I mean, how can we possibly be our best, whether we're reading The Joy Factor, the book you wrote, it doesn't matter, whatever way, how can we do the things that you prescribe and help us to do if we are operating at 50%?
Yeah, that's so right. And you think of all the accidents that we know about, and some we don't. Chernobyl, nuclear reactor, Exxon Valdez, train crashes are often due to people falling asleep. And I know people come to me all the time with sleep issues. You know, it's interesting. They'll go through all the things I recommend, but they're still not sleeping well. And it even can go down to the color of your bedroom, because I went to my one client, a famous actress, you'd know who she was, and we couldn't figure out why she couldn't sleep well. I said, let me come over and look at your bedroom. So her walls of her bedroom were painted bright red, which is a stimulating color. We fixed that right away. She also had so much dust in her bedroom because she had a library there. And her windows in the bedroom were covered with bookshelves, so she had no fresh air. All these things that are important when you want to get a good night's sleep.
Yeah. And, you know, these are the kinds of things that we just don't realize, right? I mean, these are the kinds of things that, you know, we have gotten so accustomed to operating under certain conditions, under sort of almost not noticing some of the things in our lives. And sometimes what we have to do is we have to get help. That's why Dr. Susan Smith-Jones joining us here today. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we've got lots to talk about, lots of information to share. Dr. Susan has something special for all of the listeners, that and much more. If you have a question, like to join us in the conversation, 1-800-930-2819. When we come back, we're going to tell you all about how you can get some help. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with the show.
In the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion sleeps tonight. In the jungle,
Always inspiring and uplifting, Brenda Thine spreads love and light wherever she goes. Enlightening, empowering, and encouraging readings, Brenda connects with your guides, angels, fairies, and loved ones who have crossed over to provide you with the highest guidance possible to enable you to live your highest truth and maximize your potential. Always light-filled, a session with Brenda will have you feeling wonderful, centered, and ready to take on anything. Schedule your session now at BrendaThine.com. That's BrendaThyne.com.
On the cutting edge of the new mainstream, Christine Upchurch is passionate about bringing together science, psychology, and spirituality in a way that can be applied to our everyday lives for true transformation. The Christine Upchurch Show, stellar conversations to illuminate your journey, engages some of the most outstanding visionaries on the planet in lively dialogue to inspire you to become that bright light you're meant to be. Join Christine every Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time on KKNW, AM 1150, and Transformation Talk Radio.
Tune in each Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time, 4 Eastern Time on Transformation Talk Radio to Limelight Radio with Katina Makris. This is an inspirational, cutting-edge radio show educating worldwide listeners on a diversity of Lyme disease-related topics. Each week, Katina will interview some of the world's leaders in health, wellness, spirituality, and human potential. For more information, visit limelightradio.com.
Tune in to The Truth is Funny with Colette Steffen each Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com. This hit show will have you thinking outside the box and riding the wave of infinite potential. Join Colette on the Higher Self Network, inspiring listeners to shine their brilliance and ensure success while roaring with laughter as they recognize the humor of the giant cosmic joke. Visit thetruthisfunny.com.
Wow, everyone. It's so great to have Dr. Susan Smith-Jones joining us here today. Before we go, continue to go on with this, Dr. Susan, let's take a minute if we could, and tell us what you've created for folks. Tell us about, the newsletter. And also there are some other things that you have now created for people. So give us your website and let's talk about what you've made available for people, because you're really the queen of giving people tools and tips.
Yes. And all of this has just been posted in the last week. So if you go to my website, my name, SusanSmithJones.com, so look immediately in the sidebar. You can get my July-August newsletter. You'll see a button there right in my photo. But in the sidebar, I have these monthly letters that go out, and they're only if you sign up. They're free, and you give me your email address, and once a month you get this updated, informative, uplifting, upbeat letter. The one you'll get when you sign up for this month is all about the healing power of being outdoors in nature, and also how to take better care of your sacred body. So that's in the sidebar. I also have an article about you, only younger and rejuvenated. And I just posted a few days ago, right there in the sidebar, a magazine asked me to write about 500 words on what healthy living is all about, my philosophy. It's hard to limit it to 500 words, but I did it pretty well. And I just posted, knowing we'd be here today together talking about sleep. My very first blog posted today is all about how to sleep like a baby, and it goes into much more detail than we'll have time today on all aspects of what you can do to change your life a little bit, your sleeping routine, just so that you can sleep like a baby.
Wow. I mean, we're going to talk about now why that is so important. Because, we're beyond the stage of trying to figure out how to just get through the day. Let me ask you a question about sleep. And I know this is something that we're going to talk about. People don't think about, I just missed a few hours of sleep. Is this what you're calling sleep debt? Is this now, does this have a cumulative effect?
Great question. Lots of people think they can just make up a whole week of not sleeping well by sleeping in on a Saturday morning, and it doesn't work that way. Our bodies require a solid 7 to 8 hours a night minimum. It's different for adolescents need nine hours of sleep, preschoolers 12 hours, toddlers 13, babies 14 to 18. And every hour you lose adds to your sleep indebtedness, and you can't expect to catch up by sleeping in late on a Saturday or Sunday, because the lost sleep accumulates progressively and contributes to long-term health problems. And I like to say to people, if you don't think that it's that important to sleep, and there's such a huge connection between not being able to lose weight and not getting enough sleep, do an experiment for 1 month. Just go 1 month and make it non-negotiable and get more sleep and see how much more confident you'll be, how much more energy, how much more creative. You work smarter. You lose weight easier. You make better choices with food during the day. For example, too little sleep makes you hungry, especially for foods that are not good for you, and primes your body to hold on to all of the calories you eat. So if losing a little or a lot of weight is important to you, you've got to make on the top of your list, non-negotiable, getting good sleep every night.
You know, we don't really put that together. We don't put together sleep and weight, right? We don't really sit down and think about that, you know, or think about our metabolism.
Right. And here it is in one little walnut nutshell.
Go ahead.
Research shows that when you skimp on sleep, it interferes with your body's ability to process carbohydrates, and that leads to elevated blood sugar levels and an increased tendency to store calories as fat. And this happens because when you're sleep deprived, your body produces more of that stress hormone called cortisol, which sets this chain reaction into motion. See, sleep is when we reset our appetite control and pain control. Sleep is when our energy regroups for the day to come. So it's such an important aspect of being vibrantly healthy.
You know, this is kind of like a story about how do we convince people, right? You know, how do we do this? And I think one of the ways that maybe we can talk about this is look at how we can fortify, you know, our behavior, ourselves, so that this is something that we can adjust, change, and make happen, not just by one approach, but many, many ways to do it. Everything from superfoods to napping. Maybe you can give us a sneak peek at some of the things you've discovered.
Well, absolutely. You know, the door I often come in is accelerated aging. Nobody wants to age quickly, maybe unless you're a little kid. And some great studies done at the University of Chicago, we wouldn't want to be in these, show that participants who stayed in bed 4 hours a night for 6 nights and then 12 hours a night for 7 nights, what a difference, because the people who slept 4 hours a night for 6 nights, it affects their blood sugar levels, their cortisol, and their sympathetic nervous system activity rose. The thyrotropin, which regulates thyroid function, fell. And that's that fight-or-flight response that you're putting your body through. And when you have those higher cortisol levels from not getting enough sleep, it leads to memory loss, an increase in your fat storage, a decrease in muscle, and that's the perfect combination if you want to lower your metabolism and gain weight easily. And napping can be effective. In fact, there's some enlightened businesses now that are adopting the pioneering view that napping can actually promote productivity. However, here's a caveat. If you have insomnia, naps actually can aggravate your night's sleep, because by taking the edge off your sleepiness, an afternoon nap may make it even harder for you to get to sleep at night. So if you're sleepy because of insomnia, napping should be avoided. Here's another thing about meals. Naps are also not recommended right after meals, because it's natural to want to nap after eating, because the distension of the stomach from the meal increases that deep sleep drive. And the problem is that if you overeat, the digestive process interferes with your quality of sleep, and conversely, sleep interferes with digestion. So it's always better to allow food to digest a little bit before sleeping. So both digestion and sleep tend to work better when performed separately.
Wow. You know, let's talk about some of the things that go on in life that really start to program us or point us in the direction of sleep debt. And, you know, what I mean by that is there are things that every day we can be more mindful of, more aware of, Dr. Susan, that, you know, that's to get us to stop and say, well, wait a minute. All right. Yeah, I do really feel like taking a nap, because now I've just put down, you know, 3 burgers and, you know, a large bag of chips. when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the superfoods, some of the things that may help us along the way. And what about for the tough cases? What about for the folks that have tried everything? I've tried everything and I still can't get to sleep. What are some of the natural things that we can learn how to do and learn how to ingest to help us nod off? Stay tuned. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back with Dr. Susan Smith-Jones.
I can't help but love you, you know how I am.
Artie Hoffman is the hottest psychic with the warmest heart and the host of the hit show Angels and Answers. A renowned psychic, medium, spiritual life coach, and an entertaining motivational speaker, Artie has helped over 15,000 people with his amazing intuitive gifts, his passion, and his humor. Call 877-ANGEL-02 to schedule a personal reading or to have your own psychic Artie party. That's 877-ANGEL-02. And visit ArtieHoffman.com and Angels and Answers on Facebook.
Tune in to Sheer Alchemy with Leslie Fontaine on TransformationTalkRadio.com and get ready to stir up your passions, identify your blocks, and shift into an entirely new existence. Leslie Fontaine is a transformation catalyst and clairvoyant who uses her intuitive and energetic gifts to catapult listeners into living the life they were born to live. Whether it's shifting from scarcity to abundance, from emotional pain into joy, or from illness into health, Leslie will help you step into the true essence and power of all that you are with the help of the Ascended Masters and Archangels. You will not be the same. Visit TransformationTalkRadio.com for show dates and times and LeslieFontaine.com to say yes to explosive abundance.
I'm Christine Upchurch, and this is a Stellar Reflections Minute. For centuries, spiritual traditions have talked about how humans have an energy field, or aura, surrounding them. Although skeptical scientists refuted this for decades, science is now beginning to catch up with spirituality. Scientists can actually measure light emanating from living beings, so they can measure the human aura, which in scientific terms is known as the biofield. Many medical practitioners around the world use an instrument to evaluate a patient's biofield for the purpose of diagnosing illness. They understand that imbalanced or insufficient light in a person's energy field indicates a physical or emotional problem. The good news? There are ways to balance and increase your light, resulting in greater well-being. For more information, please check out StellarReflections.com or call 425-999-9836. That's 425-999-9836.
I can't help but love you, you know how I am. You're the only dream I understand.
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Oh my gosh, this is so great. Sleepless in America with Dr. Susan Smith-Jones. Lack of sleep can lead to a variety of health problems, including weight gain, accelerated aging, yes, accelerated aging, depression, irritability, impatience, low sex drive, memory loss, lethargy, relationship problems, accidents, toxic buildup. That's what I want to talk about. You know, toxic buildup. Every time we turn around, there's another detox program that somebody's offering. And yet, so many people are not even interested in it. But I'm interested to know about toxic buildup in the relationship to lack of sleep.
Yeah, your immune function and your organs, like your kidneys, your liver, your skin, your colon, can't work at an optimum level unless you've gotten enough sleep. That's why I said right at the beginning that sleep affects every cell, every organ, every system in your body. So, you know, if people come to me because they need help with weight loss or detox, or they want to reverse aging or have more energy or even get rid of depression, the first thing I always ask is, how much sleep are you getting at night? And I never recommend to go to your doctor to get sleeping pills. I'll talk about a few different foods of what to eat and not to eat right before bedtime. But keep in mind there are so many nutrients that are necessary even during sleep. And some vitamins are important for stimulating amino acids like tryptophan into serotonin, which is a sleep neurotransmitter. And and if we don't have a reserve of certain minerals in our body like calcium, magnesium, and iron, because they all have a sedative effect, it's going to be difficult to go to sleep at night and then go back to sleep if you have to get up. There, I sell no products. I get no commission. But when I need a sleep pill, I make sure it's natural, and I always take it when I travel. And there's one that almost everyone I know uses, and you can get it at a health food store, but it's called Sleep Factors. It's by Michael's famous company, Michael's Naturopathic Programs. And it's got calcium, magnesium, niacinamide. That helps you get back to sleep after you wake in the middle of the night. It's got 5-HTP, that's hydrotryptophan, that helps to biosynthesize neurotransmitters of serotonin and melatonin. It's got melatonin in it. It's got passion flower, hops, skullcap. You can read about it right in my blog today. Or if in the search bar, if you put in Sleep Factors, and the company gives me and anyone I give this to a 25% discount with the code Vitality15. So you can go to michaelshealth.com. You can check it out on my website. I write about it. But if you want to ease yourself into sleep easily, and it's especially important for me when I travel, because when you're in different hotels and different beds all the time, it's nice to have something to help you get to sleep and stay asleep that's not habit forming, that supports falling asleep naturally. This is the best, and I've tried so many different products over the years. This is the best I've ever found.
Well, and part of this too is looking at how things in the world are changing and how knowledgeable we're getting. I want to take a minute to talk about this, for if you would, Dr. Susan, because I was talking with someone the other day, and we kind of had a moment where we realized it wasn't too long ago when mentioning the word organic, right, you were like in the small percentage, let alone even the idea of GMOs, right? I mean, no one really knew about GMOs until a couple of years ago. And now you take a look at Taco Bell, I think it is, and some of these other places, and they're like, oh, by the way, we're going organic. Mm-hmm. And this happened in a relatively short period of time. I want to ask you about the state of affairs from your point of view of what you're seeing in the world of nutrition. Are we on an upswing to become more knowledgeable? Are we taking things like obesity seriously? Where are we in what you see? And I know you travel the world, so I know it's not just in this country.
Yes. And I see positive things happening in all of my world travels, even in the Midwest. When I travel around the Midwest, that was often an area where people didn't care as much about their health as in New York City or Miami or Los Angeles or Seattle. But now I see people really changing. All of the hassles with health care and not being able to go to your doctor, and more people are definitely taking responsibility for their health and asking for more organic produce at the supermarket. And, when companies like McDonald's or Taco Bell lose revenue because people want more organic, they're going to have to do something. So I see very positive changes happening around the country. And most of these fast food places are making it so they've got a few things on the menu that are are healthy. Well, healthy for them.
Someone said to me, Dr. Susan, it's progress, not perfection.
That's
and,
right.
you know, I mean, I want to believe that. But I will tell you, there are some things that I'm seeing in my lifetime that I never thought I'd see. So I have a sense of progress in a lot of areas. I do not see success in the progress of sleep debt. And the reason I say that is I get to look at my own self right now about that. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's so interesting we're doing the show today because I was out last night. I do community service, and I was out last night until, I don't know, 9:30. Of course, I didn't come home and, eat, but I probably should have had a piece of protein or something. Mm-hmm. And it took me, Dr. Susan, I will admit this now because maybe you can give me some tips. Mm-hmm. It took me from that time till about 1 a.m. to get to sleep.
Yeah.
And it's not because I was, dilly-dallying around. I literally attempted to go to bed. But, sometimes you just get a little wound up about things.
Yes.
All right.
Let me give you practical tips on how you can sleep like a baby. Let's start with what you just said, food.
Yeah.
You don't want to eat any big meal 3 hours before bedtime. The role of sleep is to renew, rebuild, repair your body. If you eat too close to bedtime instead of renewing, repairing, rebuilding, your body is digesting, absorbing, metabolizing, assimilating, and eliminating. Consequently, you wake up much more tired than when you go to sleep at night. So carbo-rich foods, healthy ones, help send the amino acid tryptophan to the brain, which induces sleep. Proteins inhibit tryptophan's journey to the brain, making you more alert. So if you're really hungry in the evening after a dinner meal, you want to choose a healthy carb snack instead of a protein. Remember that alcohol is a stimulant that blocks restful sleep experience during the REM cycle. And some foods that have melatonin in them are fresh or dried cherries and even oatmeal. If you had a little bit of oatmeal, it's rich in melatonin. Bananas are rich in potassium and magnesium. These are muscle relaxants. And other simple things. You want your bedroom to be cool, dark, and quiet. You want to avoid nighttime calls on your cell phone before going to bed, because a study at the University of Zurich found that exposing people to electromagnetic fields from cell phones altered brain waves during sleep, resulting in sleep disturbances. So if you need to use a phone, hopefully you still have one, everyone, you use a landline before you go to bed at night. If you get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, don't turn on a bright light because it shuts down your melatonin levels for the rest of the night and will make it very difficult to go back to sleep unless you take that sleep factors tablet. It's better to have a little faint night light. Now, if you get home at night, like you got home at 9 o'clock, one of the best, and this is why you give a baby a bath at night, one of the best things you can do is take a hot sauna or a bath or a shower or a jacuzzi about 90 minutes to 2 hours before bedtime, because the process of your internal core being heated up and then cooling down increases the release of melatonin, which will make it so you will absolutely sleep like a baby. So having a hot, long bath or shower at night before bedtime, you see, the bigger the drop in temperature from heating up your body to cooling it down, the better the drop into sleep. And what's interesting is people with insomnia do not have this normal drop in temperature, so they aren't as ready for sleep. So heating up the body, even with exercise, 4 hours before bedtime, you've got to do it at least 4 hours before. That heats up the body, too. Not as good as a bath or a long shower. We can't do a long shower here in California, though, anymore.
Right.
Yeah, but exercise at some point during the day helps you sleep better at night. Just don't do it right before bedtime because it revs up your metabolism.
Yeah, and I think what you're talking about, and that really kind of takes us to the conversation of exercise. And I think, Benny, we'll just skip this break because we've got so much still to talk about. Let's talk about exercise because you and I were talking. You asked me how I was doing with my program. And, and what I said to you is, I am really thrilled about kind of getting back there. But now you've talked about a couple of different things, and I want to know what the update is on exercise, meaning what have you discovered? We have gone through so many things, right? I mean, you and I have talked about everything from avocado is good to eat, right?
Right.
To, yeah. And I want to ask you about this. People think about exercise as the agony of defeat. They don't really see it as the thrill of victory. And I wanted you to give us a little snapshot on the tools, the tricks, the things you've learned about exercise that would maybe encourage people to just get out there and start shaking a booty.
Yeah. All right. Now, let me just say first, you just said avocado. Have you ever been to Chipotle?
Yes.
Do you like their guacamole?
I do.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I do.
So in my July,
ask me
August
if there's anything there that I don't like.
Yeah, I know. I love it. I have one down the block. So in my July, August newsletter, free, that's right on the homepage, I have Chipotle's recipe for their guacamole because it was online for anybody to use.
I'm going to get it right now.
Yeah, so it's fantastic. Now, in terms of exercise, I know I need to do it in the morning because if I don't get it out of the way in the morning, I don't have time the rest of the day, and I have so many excuses. And I'll admit to you, there's hardly ever a morning that I wake up and the first thing I think is, oh, great, I get to go work out. Because I always want to just stay in bed a little bit longer, even if when I get my good sleep. However, I never do a workout. And then afterwards say, oh, I wished I hadn't worked out today. So you've got to train your body to have some type of commitment, even though you're not always going to be 100% motivated. And you don't have to go out there and run as fast as you can and do hard things that cause major pain. You can treat your body more gently. It just likes to be moved. It likes good circulation through something aerobically. You need to do something to keep your muscles strong and toned so they don't atrophy like weight training. You need to do some type of flexibility like stretching or yoga or Pilates or whatever you do so you move your joints in their full range of motion a little bit every day. I know people that go out and they jog and they lift weights, but they don't make time to stretch, and they just get tighter and tighter. And then one day you're reaching up to a cupboard in your kitchen or down to a lower shelf at the grocery store, and you pull a muscle because you're so tight. Flexibility means youthfulness, and it takes commitment. And, you know, we've talked about making 21-day commitments. If you are needing some motivation to get back into exercise, I'd say make a 21-day agreement that every day you'll do something, and maybe make it so easy that you say for at least 10 minutes. If you say 2 hours, you're not going to do it. And if you miss a day, you start back over. And in my search bar on my website, put in 21-day agreement because you can print out, it's all free, this sheet that you can sign and put on your refrigerator door to help you stick with your 21-day agreement. And I have lots of articles about how to stay motivated to work out or keep your goals that are all in my current newsletter. But after 21 days of doing something every day, you will have now established a new habit, and you'll look more forward to working out rather than you making your body do it. Once you complete a 21-day agreement, it's a simple and practical way to change habits in your life.
I already have it. I just went to your website and I already got it. I love it. And by the way, for those of you that have not been on Dr. Susan's website, go to susansmithjones.com. And here's what you're going to find. I have met a lot of people, 13,000 interviews in over 13 years doing this. And I have never met anyone that has as many freebies as she has. Books, articles, booklets, blogs, recipes, you name it. It's her interviews, everything here. And thank you so much for, and by the way, how about a daily inspirational quote? Beautiful. So thank you so much for doing that. And by the way, for those of you out there that are in the conundrum of how do I make great green smoothies, you got to go check out what she's doing here.
Yeah.
I mean, just the picture sitting there with all of those fruits and vegetables, and she's looking at it. I love it. And you and I did talk about this. Let's talk about, can I ask you this question about sleep?
Ask me anything.
Okay. What do you think about this? Because I had a moment last night before I went to bed because I didn't eat dinner. I missed dinner. You're saying, yeah, I did. But I had a pretty good lunch.
That's okay.
Yeah, I had a good lunch.
Intermittent fasting actually rejuvenates your body, so don't worry.
Okay. But I thought for a minute, I had a moment, Dr. Susan, where I thought, I got my NutriBullet over here, and I have no affiliation with those people.
Yeah.
I just love my little thing on the counter. And I thought I had a moment where, I could throw some spinach in there and an apple and some protein powder, and that would be good. But I didn't do it because I thought, you're not supposed to eat before you go to bed. Do you have like a guideline on that?
And you know what? A little bit would have been fine. And even chamomile tea and lemon balm tea half an hour before going to sleep is great. I always recommend this because we're all crunched for time. Mm-hmm. In my Vitamix, and I also have a NutriBullet, I make a big green smoothie every morning, and I make enough for my morning, for snacks, and a little bit for evening. And if I have some left over, it's still going to be good the following morning. So that way, if you make a little bit bigger one in the morning, then you can have it to sip on or take with you for errands all day long.
That's great.
And that is such a great way to detoxify your body by saying 1 day a week and maybe 3 days monthly, I'm basically going to do my green smoothie. And maybe if you do 3 days, maybe you then have one meal during the day plus the green smoothie. I write all about this in an article on how to detox. And you do this for 1 to 3 days to 3 weeks, and you will have a cleaned out, beautiful, rejuvenated body, and you never feel deprived because you always have something wonderful to eat, and the blades of the blender do most of the work, and that's why all that extra energy of you not having to digest it because the blades did it, you use that energy to detoxify and heal your body. I love green smoothies. I have lots and lots of recipes in my current newsletter.
Yeah. And, I just want to tell everybody about this, to just go ahead and take a look. Now, I got a question came in, and I think this question probably came from Mr. Benny, but it's a great one. What about people who work evenings and overnight shifts and sleep during the day? Any tips? That is, oh, my God, I've done the night shift.
I'll tell you, it's harder on your body, but you've got to make sure that when you're off work, you have those, you can put shades over your eyes. You've got the blackout shades for your bedroom. You've still got to get the good hours of sleep during the day if you work during the night. Leonardo da Vinci said, I love this, a well-spent day brings happy sleep. And I was just at a B&B on my media tour in the UK, and in this place in Ireland, there was a plaque that said, a good laugh and a long sleep are the best cures in the doctor's book.
Wow. And this is really part of the conversation and, figuring out what your clock is. For people that do work evenings and overnight, there is a clock adjustment that has to be made made. And there are things that people can do. Isn't it also important to figure out what your clock is? And let me tell you what I mean by that for a minute. When I worked the night shift, I would work at night, and I worked the midnight job. You know that one? Midnight to morning. Remember, you know those guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, midnight to morning. And so for me, I didn't go to sleep after. That didn't work for me.
Right.
So what I did was I worked, then I had like a day.
Yeah.
And what I did was sleep later.
That's
so
all right.
I would, so my sleep wasn't like, like when I got home. It was like later in the day before work.
Right.
So it's almost like I'm sleeping and then I'm getting up again to go to work like a normal person. Does that work? Or
Okay. No, that's
so
great. You're so right.
Okay.
It's got to be geared to what works for you. And just like you were wired last night and you couldn't get to sleep for a few hours, after a shift of work, you need to have time to wind down.
Yeah.
So it's good to do a few things, but then it's still important to carve out those hours of sleep and make the room conducive to getting good sleep, even if it's daylight outside.
Yeah. And I think what for me was that, in the winters, that's perfect, right? Because, the sun goes down and, you could be nodding off at 4:30 in the afternoon, right?
Right.
And do that. I want to ask you this. We've got a couple minutes left. Can you give us any additional tips we haven't really touched upon because there are so many, but also remind us why sleep is so important and give folks your website again. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So my website is my name, SusanSmithJones.com, and look at that first blog today. It will be all about sleep. In conclusion, remember that you've got to make good quality sleep non-negotiable because it affects every area of your life. It affects your body, mind, emotions, and spirit. And with enough shut-eye, you'll heal your body, you'll feel more empowered, you'll have more confidence, you'll know that you can wake up each day and deal with whatever life brings you with a plum and a lawn. Love those words. And there's nothing more restorative for your body than getting good sleep. And I'll go so far to say that if we could just get more sleep, I think it would make the world a better place to live because we'd be more kind towards one another. The dynamic of family, friends, and business associates would run more smoothly. So whatever you can do, make your bedroom a sanctuary for just sleeping, for good sleep. Take all the computers out and the tech stuff and even the TV if possible. Make the bedroom quiet. Put a fresh plant in the bedroom. So if you wear pajamas, wear natural fibered pajamas and bed linens because that even helps you sleep better. All of this is on my website.
I love it. Thank you so much for today. And thank you for all that you do. And Dr. Susan actually didn't tell you everything on her website. Everything we've talked about and more is there. And if you want more of what she has to offer, check out a couple of her books. Health Bliss is one of my favorites. The Joy Factor is another one. But more importantly, spend the time to help yourself. Dr. Susan, what a great show. Thank you so much.
Thank you. See you next time.
You bet. And thank you all for tuning us in, turning us on. If you've missed any part of this show today, go to transformationtalkradio.com. It'll replay later on. Or, of course, you can get us on Spreaker, get the app on iTunes, get the podcast. We'll see you next time.